and breaking news, Justin. Roe v. Wade has officially been overturned by the Supreme Court of the United States, essentially ending abortion as a constitutional right in America and making it a state's right. You saw briefly our live picture outside the court. We've been waiting for this. We had the draft opinion several weeks ago suggesting that the court was considering doing it. It is now official. It was released just minutes ago. And essentially, again, Roe v. Wade overturned. So no longer is abortion a constitutional right in America, and that 1973 case is now moot, essentially. This 6-3 conservative court has done what many expected them to do, what conservatives in this country wanted them to do, and now this is the moment. We've been waiting for a while to see if this would happen. There was a lot of speculation as to when, but that moment here has arrived. The decision, of course, right now, not necessarily surprising, all the tea leaves are leading to this moment, but now it really opens up the doors to what is the immediate backlash, and then two, how do now individual states respond, because now abortion has become a state-by-state issue in America, as opposed to a federal court ruling as, you know, governing the nation as a whole. So that is the breaking news, Justin. Roe v. Wade officially overturned in our country.
And as Mara was talking about, she's at the Right to Life Convention here in Atlanta, Georgia. Just the trigger laws that will now go into effect in several states. So we're talking Texas, for example, Louisiana, where we have done extensive coverage in Louisiana. Just the few abortion clinics there that still remain. In Mississippi, for example, just one, I believe, still remains open there. So severe ramifications. We're talking personally for women and young women, and then obviously financially. We've talked about that today, the different repercussions from that. But let's take kind of a step back and talk about where this landmark decision even started. This is several decades old, 1973, and it all was about the women's right to an abortion because of the 14th Amendment, which was the privacy, right? And since then, different states have legalized it before that 1973 ruling. And so we're talking New York, states like that, Washington, Alaska, and you're looking at the Supreme Court justices right there on your screen. But the ruling was a choice to end pregnancy in that first trimester was okay for a woman to make that choice. The second trimester, that's when it changed, and the government did have some say in what was able to happen after that. They can regulate abortion, but after that, that is when they were able to prohibit it, and that is where things stood until today.
And listen, okay, we want to go back out live outside the Supreme Court. Our correspondent Haley Bull there live out the court. We saw a crowd there earlier today, and now official word has come down. You really will be and the epicenter of this story now for many hours to come. Haley, paint the scene for us, and the decision is in. Here we go. Not a surprise, but an extraordinary moment and a dramatic change in the legal landscape of our country. Take it away.
Yeah, this has huge legal implications across the country, Rob and Alex. And of course, this has been a highly anticipated decision here outside the Supreme Court and across the country in the weeks leading up to this opinion. I want to show you the scene outside the courthouse here in the immediate aftermath. In the past hour, this crowd grew significantly from maybe a dozen or so demonstrators to the size of crowd you see now. I would estimate that is at least 100. There are police interspersed in there, and this includes people who were demonstrating in favor of abortion rights and those who were demonstrating against abortion rights. And in the seconds that followed that opinion coming down, we did hear a louder sound of cheers from some of those demonstrators. And of course, now you can see this is a highly contested and controversial opinion here outside the courthouse. So to break down the significance of this, the court has held that there is not a constitutional basis for the right to abortion. And in that, they have overturned Roe and Casey. And those were the two landmark and historical cases that set the right to abortion based on bodily autonomy and the right to privacy. And that is what has been used for decades now to set abortion laws and to protect the right of abortion. And what it used was the viability standard, saying that before viability, abortions were were banned at that point, and that was the central question here. The court has really taken this as far as they could in this opinion. As you mentioned, Rob, this was an expected opinion. Justice Alito issuing the opinion of the court here with the other conservative justices concurring, the 3 dissenting opinions coming from the liberal justices. Of course, Justice Alito's opinion had been leaked weeks ago, a draft opinion leaked that suggested overturning Roe and Casey. Now, I want to break down some of the arguments in this case that we saw lead up to this opinion. For its part, Mississippi, which had this 15-week abortion ban, but had after this challenge had already worked on a 6-week abortion ban, argued that the right to abortion was not tied to the Constitution, and further argued in overturning Roe and Casey. And in that, saying again, tying to the text of the Constitution and arguing that this issue should remain in states' hands. On the flip side of that, the health organization from Mississippi at the center of this, and that center says they are the only abortion clinic in Mississippi in that state, pointing to the long-standing precedent of Roe and Casey and the implications of overturning this. And that was a central part of the questioning from some justices and hearing this case was the implications of overturning these 2 cases that had such a root in history at this point now and had become accepted there, Roe and Casey, in defending abortion rights. They also pointed to bodily autonomy for women and tying this to personal liberty, personal freedom, as well as that right to privacy. And so that is where the arguments kind of shaked down leading up to this case. And of course, as you can see here, the courts have returned this to the states. Now, the broader implications here are across the country. The Guttmacher Institute had estimated that 26 states were likely or certain to ban abortions should Roe be gutted, which is what we have seen here today. We know leading up to this, there are multiple states who, anticipating this decision, had taken steps to further tighten restrictions on abortion, implementing bans earlier on in pregnancy, some making their criminal procedures tied to abortions as well. And on the flip side, we've also seen some states look to try to strengthen protections for abortion rights and for abortion providers. And we are certainly just seeing the beginning of the implications here. We know just yesterday the vice president was meeting with attorney generals from 7 democratically led states, suggesting the authority that attorney generals have and what challenges there could be to cases that emanate from this. But I want to pan back over here again so you can see this in the wake of this historic opinion here that just could have sweeping effects across our country. What the scene and the reaction here is today. You can hear right now talking. These are people who have been demonstrating for abortion rights. We expect this to continue throughout the day. We're going to dive a little bit more into this opinion, and we'll be back. Rob, Alex.
And Haley, before we let you go, I'm just fascinated. You were out there the moment that the ruling came down. Again, not a surprise, but I'm wondering, because you're right there, did you notice any sea change in that crowd? Were there new chants? Were people just glued to their phone? Were they coming up to you trying to confirm? What was the initial crowd reaction right there at the steps of the court?
Yeah, well, there was an immediate reaction. We know in the hour leading up to this opinion, even though we weren't sure which opinion was going to come down this morning, if it was going to come down this morning, there was a heightened sense of anticipation as this crowd grew. So certainly you could feel that. You could feel the tension. On one side, you heard loud cheers from demonstrators, presumably those who were here demonstrating against abortion. And then we have since heard the chants from those who were advocating for abortion rights. There was a lot of music at this moment, this very moment. It seems to be a more quiet moment relative to what we heard right when that opinion came down, Rob.
All right, Haley Bull, we know you have a busy day ahead of you right there outside of the court, because now the decisions come down. It is a matter of reaction from people all across the country, from our political leaders, from our institutions. The alert on my phone from the New York Times worded it this way, in a way that really isn't melodramatic if you think about it. The Supreme Court overturned Roe v. Wade, eliminating the constitutional right to abortion in a decision that will transform American life. Can't overstate the moment that we're in terms of the ripple effects here.